Hi there, I'm Dr. Alessandra Latour, founder of the Latour Leadership Academy. For more than 16 years, I've worked with leaders across organizations to strengthen how they think, decide, and operate, especially in high pressure environments. This podcast is where we go beyond surface level leadership advice. We talk about the patterns, behaviors, and structural gaps that actually shape how leaders show up, and why capable leaders still get stuck. You won't find generic frameworks here. You'll find perspective, clarity, and the kind of thinking that helps you lead more effectively in the moments that matter most. If you're ready to lead with greater clarity, discipline, and intention, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Let's talk about something that quietly limits more leaders than lack of skill, experience, or even strategy: emotional regulation. Not in the way it's often talked about, not as a soft skill, but as the thing underneath the behaviors that leaders get coached on over and over again: conflict avoidance, defensiveness, overcontrol. Because those behaviors don't just happen, they're reactions. Think about a moment where a leader receives feedback. Not harsh feedback, not even critical feedback, just input. A different perspective, a suggestion, and something shifts. They start explaining instead of listening. They justify their decision. They subtly redirect the conversation. And the person who gave the feedback, they notice. And next time, they think twice. This is what's happening under the surface. It's not about capability, it's about what that moment triggers internally. Because when leaders feel challenged, uncertain, exposed, they don't always respond strategically, they respond emotionally. And if that emotion isn't managed, it shapes behavior in ways that quietly erode trust, feedback, and performance. There are three patterns I see most often. The first is conflict avoidance. Leaders sense tension, but they don't address it. Not because they don't know how, but because it's uncomfortable, so things stay unsaid. And over time, small issues become structural ones. The second is defensiveness. This one is more visible. A leader receives feedback and immediately explains, justifies, or corrects the other person's perception. Again, not because they're incapable, but because something about that moment feels like a threat to their competence, to their credibility. And instead of processing that internally, it comes out externally, which shuts down the very feedback they need. I've actually experienced this one personally. Early in one role, I had a team member push back on something I had written. My immediate internal reaction? Defensiveness. Not outwardly, but internally it was there. That feeling of, did I get this wrong? Am I missing something? And I had to actively work to pause and shift out of that, to move into curiosity instead of protection. Because what I learned quickly was she wasn't criticizing the work, she was trying to make it stronger. But if I had responded from that initial reaction, I would have shut that down. And over time, she might have stopped offering input altogether. The third pattern is overcontrol disguised as support, and this one's more subtle. I've seen leaders who genuinely want to help their team, who care deeply, who want people to feel supported and included. But when a team member is going through something personal, they push, they ask more questions, they try to understand more than what's being offered, because they believe that if they know more, they can help more. But underneath that is discomfort. Discomfort with not knowing, discomfort with not being able to fix it. And instead of regulating that internally, it turns into pressure externally, even when the intent is good. There's research behind this. Studies on emotional intelligence consistently show that leaders with higher emotional regulation drive stronger team performance, higher engagement, and more open feedback environments. And it makes sense because teams don't just respond to what leaders say, they respond to how leaders react, especially in moments of tension. Here's the shift: emotion isn't the problem. It's not about becoming less emotional. It's about becoming more aware of what's happening internally and choosing how you respond. Strong leaders still feel defensiveness, frustration, uncertainty. They just don't let those feelings drive the outcome. So if you want to strengthen your leadership in a meaningful way, start here. When you feel a reaction, pause. Not externally, internally. Ask yourself, what am I reacting to right now? Is this about the outcome or how I'm feeling in this moment? And then do one simple thing. Ask a question before you respond. That one shift, moving from reaction to curiosity, changes everything about how your leadership is experienced. The real leadership skill gap isn't strategy. It's not even communication frameworks. It's not experience. It's the ability to manage yourself in the moments that matter most. If this resonated with you, this is exactly the kind of work we do inside my leadership development programs, helping leaders strengthen not just what they do, but how they show up in the moments that define their impact. You can join my newsletter at authenticleadershipunlocked.com for more insights like this, or explore the From Imposter to Impact resources at latourleadershipacademy.com/imposter syndrome if you're working on building that internal confidence and clarity in your leadership. Thanks for joining me today. If this episode challenged your thinking, that's the point. And it's exactly the kind of work we continue beyond the podcast. You can explore more at latourleadershipacademy.com, where I share leadership programs and resources designed to help leaders translate insight into sustained behavior change. And if you're not already subscribed, join our weekly newsletter at authenticleadershipunlock.com. It's where I go deeper on the patterns shaping leadership right now and what most people are missing. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next episode.